a great little talk today, and I'm gonna talk about something that's near and dear to my heart because it's something that I not only experienced, it's something that I actually took my daughters through, and I've seen it around my community. I've seen it in the world. And what we're talking about today is fatherless pain. What it is and how it impacts our community and our families when the father is not in the home. How that happens and what that trickle effect is like when the father is not in the home. So fatherless pain, let's heal. It's time to heal for us as a community. It's time for us to realize that the absence that we actually went through is not the infrastructure that we actually are. It's not really who we are. But we have been portrayed as believing something that we're not. We believe that we're something that we can just have a child and leave and it's okay. But what I understood most of it, anything from my own experience, my mother transitioned in 1976. My father left in 1976. I only seen my father one time, and I was 37 years old. And he continued to tell me how he raised four of the children in his life. But in my life, and I have two sisters, that he wasn't in none of our lives, but he told me about raising four other children. And for a minute, it really aggravated me that the pain that I had to deal with and finally being able to see face to face with him with me being in an anger at that particular time. Again, I was 37 years old, and me wanting to crush his head because of the pain that he had caused me. I listened to him when I talked. And shout out to my sister Sheila, who, when I was getting ready to go upside his head, she gave me a little nut and shook her head like, nah, we're not doing that. So shout out to you for that, sis. So this fatherless pain, we're still talking about in 2024 from the census that they quote unquote come in and they, do their investigation, they do their count. They're saying it's right now still at 58-60% of fathers not being in the home. Now, I know what it does to young men when the father's not in the home because you don't have any infrastructure, no stability, no discipline. And yes, mothers can discipline very well. Do not get me wrong. I grew up with a mother that raised me, and I grew up with a grandma that raised me. And I'm telling you, you still can get discipline. Yet I had some uncles and I had some other men in my life that actually gave me more of an understanding of what it is. I didn't understand what it was to be a father. They was teaching me what it was to be a man. I didn't understand what it was to be a father. And I think that's something that we have to really pay attention to today because there are a lot of young men out here that are having children. There are young ladies that are willing to have children and they don't understand the true infrastructure of family. And that is something that we have to heal and grow from. We have to be able to change the generation coming forward so our men will understand the power we have as a family and what that is, what does that mean to be a father, the traits that you're passing down. And I think that's the most important thing. Because see, when you're dealing with fatherless pain, you're talking about an absence of something, a man that you desire, that you looking to teach you and train you. I have friends that have fathers in their life and they have different lives. I have friends that don't have fathers in their life and they have different lives. I have friends that had married families, mother and father in the home, and they have a particular life. And then I had men that had mother and father, no, not in the house, just a mother, and they had a totally different life. This fatherless pain it runs deep. And the reason why it runs so deep, because I asked a question one time, and I'll ask you all, which hurts worse? You grow up in the house with your father and not having a bond with your father, or you growing up without your father in the house and not having a bond with your father? Which hurts worse? And there's no right or wrong answer. They both gonna hurt. The thing about it is, with the father being in the home and not giving you no attention, not giving you love, not giving you the support, not teaching you in a proper manner, we have to understand what that really means to be a father. And because for me, I didn't understand what it was to be a father at first because of the pain was so deep. See, when you hurting as a young man and you're not able to really express what's really going on in your life because of the pain, and as men, they told you Peace, Jessica. How you doing today? So, you know, we have to understand as men, as young men. I was told when I was a little boy, you don't cry. Young men don't cry. Young men don't cry. You know, peace. Young men don't cry. Young men don't cry. But we do cry. We do hurt. And imagine I have grandkids now, and the way that they want me in the home, I understood how that trickled down to my daughters when I wasn't there. And young men, when you're not a father in the home and you're not being there to teach, what you do is leave your daughter vulnerable to the world. You leave her to ideas of what a father love is, and they're searching for it. I have two daughters. I've been through this. I've caused fatherless pain to my daughters that at one time my daughters had not knowingly had caused fatherless pain to their children. It's a cycle. All you have to do is look around. You look around and you see fatherless pain everywhere. It's something that happens in our family, and we don't understand it as a community. That's why they took the father out of the home in the 70s. They gave you welfare. They gave you ideas of what man was, and they monetized it. So they gave you money instead of infrastructure. As a family, we are a total structure. There's nothing that's going to break us as a family, as a unit. As long as we're separate and there's a baby mother and a baby father, you being there half of the time and you being there not half of the time, that is going to cause an effect on the child. We cannot deny that that's not what's going to happen, because that is what you look at the world today, and you will see the majority of men love to have more than one woman, and the majority of women love to have more than one man. You know why? Because they grew up in a particular situation where that was the norm. Really, they're searching for a love for themselves, to love themselves, but they lack that because they never saw a man self-love. You know, when I'm able to spend time with my grandkids now, and I spend time with my daughters, they're able to reflect on self-love first. Self-love. The power that a father has in the infrastructure of a family and in the psyche of a child is phenomenal. And we as men, we must be able to let's be at a place where we understand we have to heal. That you're mentally, psychologically, emotionally hurt. See, a lot of men don't want to say they hurt. I was. I was devastated at the time because I was so angry that I saw friends and family members with their father, and what their father was able to teach them is different than teaching your nephew than teaching your son. It's a different dynamics. The pain that men go through is secretive. A lot of men don't talk about their hurts. They don't talk about their pain. That's why you see a lot of men drink heavy. They smoke heavy. They party heavy. They doing their best to numb that pain. They don't know what to do with it. A fatherless pain. We're talking about something that if we actually deal with that as a community, we'll strengthen the family once again. Because when a father is hurt, like myself, I didn't understand the significance of being there for my daughters. I thought that as long as I was paying child support, as long as I was buying them stuff for birthdays and holidays, I thought as long as I was doing those things, that was fine. I was good. I was a good father. Nah, I was a shitty father, and I was a person that provided some of the times, not all of the time. So that creates a whole dynamic inside of a young woman. You know, when I reconnected with my youngest daughter, it took me 2 years for her to be able to accept my hug and realize that was a hug and love of a father, not someone who wanted to take control or manipulate her or come back and tell her why I wasn't there. I don't care why you not there. I don't care why I wasn't there. I understood what that caused in my daughter's life and how that trickled into their personal life, how it affected our relationship once we got back together. They was able to share with me the pain that they had to endure by my absence. So we thinking that in our absence, because we come through, pick up the child, spend a little bit of time with them, and drop them off right quick, we have to understand what that does to the child. Even to men today, you in your 30s and your 40s, if you didn't grow up with your father, have you dealt with the pain? Did you heal? Are you able to have a healthy relationship, or are you always remembering what you saw in your household when it reflects your father and your mother? Does it reflect the absence of your father? So all of these things that we have, we must pay attention to and realize why that's there. It's a strategic plan to why we're not here. Why they took fathers out. They took away the infrastructure there and the discipline what it takes. And I know we got some strong mothers out there today. And yes, you can raise a young man to be a man. And I tell you, the strongest thing you can do to make sure a man is a man is to have a man in the home that knows he's a man, that sets the standards and the discipline as a man. That when he passed down those traits, because see, the one thing that we have to understand as well, that we pass down archetypical traits. Mother and fathers, I said mothers and fathers. Mothers and fathers are archetypes. So that's why you have a mother archetype. That's why you can have, that's a whole nother episode, mother archetype. You can have an archetype of a mother, and you can say, I don't want to be nothing like my mother, yet you be just like her. Because that's the archetype. That's the psychological programming that we have. And so with me not having a father in the household, I thought it was okay not to be present. Not realizing the emotional damage and the hurt and the pain that I caused my daughters. Two daughters. That in their young life, from the ages of 1 to 7, 1 to 10, I wasn't there. You know, I was there for a little while in my youngest daughter life, exit out. I didn't meet my old daughter till she was 7 years old. So for her first 8 years, she didn't even know I even existed. Like, what type of pain does that cause in a young lady? You know, we push things to the side, like mental health and mental pain, psychological pain. You know, my mentor told me a couple of years ago. He said, you know, the pain that you carry in your mind is real weight. That's why you can think about something and automatically start crying because of the pain so intense. You're not even in that particular moment in time, but the memory so intense, it caused that much pain. Well, that's what, as fathers, that's what we do to our youth. And just, again, we talking about fatherless pain, not having a father in the household, not understanding what that means, not really understanding from a father to a young man what it is to treat a woman, to not see someone treat your mother with such reverence, with such honor, with such respect. You know, we have young men today, they're 4 or 5 years old and they want to be bullies and fighters. They want to be in gangs today. And I'm not knocking out none of my gangs or nothing like that. You know, because that is an infrastructure when you don't have none. To understanding, we're talking about healing and breaking the generational curse. And the generational curse that I'm talking about is fatherless pain, not having a father in the home. That is detrimental to us as a family, to us as a community. Fellas, if you want to have babies with these women and you don't want to marry her, don't have the baby. If you're going to have a baby with her, stay with her. Ladies, if you want to have a baby with the man and now you don't want the man, that don't make no sense. You wanted them when y'all was having the hanky panky, when y'all was doing y'all do. Fatherless pain. We're talking about something that's 60% in our communities today. which means 6 out of 10 kids today you can walk up to and they don't have a father in the home. Now you might not think that's alarming. That is. And this is 2025. Y'all hear that's my grandkids around now. That little 3-year-old, these little terror. So yeah, this imagine imagine us as a community where all families are knit tight with mothers and fathers, infrastructures, skills, land, health, the ability to our own grow our own agriculture, build our own food. I say build our own food, build our own shelter, take care of our own land, have our own energy. What that would look like. As a father, do you teach your son to hunt? Do you teach him to fish? Do you teach him how to when you buy something from the store and you got the directions, when it's time to put it all together, do you get your son with you? Do you got your grandson with you? And fellas, hey, if you have a daughter and the father is not in the children's life, stand up and be that role model for these young men. Let them know just because the father ain't here, you can be the father archetype. You can set the structure, you can set a standard, you can allow that child to, hey, if they actually in the pain and they don't know how to speak, you can say, hey, I've been like you. I've been angry. I've been confused. If there's any time that you would like to talk, my door is always open. You can call me at any time. That's what we need to talk to our young men today. And a lot of times we don't have that. Think about our young ladies today are getting into relationships without understanding that male archetype, without understanding and having that fatherly love, not having that fatherly guidance. You know, as a father, I remember when my daughters they get ready to start dating, and I say, look, these streets out here for real. I said, let me tell you something about a man right now. I said, if a man walk up to you right now and the first thing he asks you, he don't ask your name, he don't ask your favorite color, he don't ask you nothing. He look you up and down and say, what's your favorite drink? You smoke? If he say that, he trying to get them buns. So from the fatherless pain, if I allow my daughters to grow up and not really understand what these streets were gonna do to them, I left them ill prepared. And as a father, I take responsibility for that. So I went away again, came back with a knowledge, came back with healing, came back with understanding, and said, hey, I understand the pain that I caused. Here are the steps that I'm looking to take to make sure that you don't have to ever deal with that again. The only time I will leave my daughter's side like that again is death. That'll be the only next time that they not able to find me at all. You know, because I do have a relationship with my daughters right now, and it may not be the best relationship. It's definitely better than I've seen some, because they know that they can talk to me about anything. That is the relationship that we build from the pain that I caused them. When you young and you dealing with pain, it leaves you in a very angry state. It leaves you in a very troublesome, a very confused state. And when you angry and confused, there can only be trouble. Pain, fatherless pain. When you desire your father, when you are looking for your father. You know, I had a friend told me a while ago, and he said, man, there were times where my dad would tell me he coming to pick me up, and it would be weeks later before my dad would show up. I was like, damn. You know, I could not even fathom a child and how that affected that young man years later. But I tell you one thing, he's a hell of a father to his children. That's for sure. He's a hell of a father. So sometimes the pain really brings out the best in us because we realize, yeah, I came through the pain, but I'm not gonna recycle and put that back into my children. I'm not gonna pass down more pain. You know, I'm gonna pass down some love. I'm gonna pass down some healing. And that's what we have to do. Fellas, it's okay to be hurt. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to recognize that you have been in relationships now that are not beneficial for you. Hey, it's time to go. You don't have to suffer. We've already suffered enough from the absence. See, an absent father, it does a couple of things to the psyche. It doesn't allow you to have trust in men as you get older. That's male or female. Don't matter. Don't matter. It doesn't give you something that you say, hey, you know what? I really trust this individual. It's difficult to trust somebody where you don't see them in a trustworthy manner. So how do you trust somebody who tell you they're gonna be there for you and then not ever there? How can you trust someone who's never been there? We're talking about fatherless pain. The agony of desiring something so bad, yet it causes you so much pain. And just think about that for a second. You desire something so bad, a father, that it causes you so much pain. And so that's what we're healing from. We're healing from that. And I say one way that we can heal from fatherless pain is realize our ancestry roots. Come back to a spiritual alignment, and through that spiritual alignment, you will understand the significance of what it is to be a father, the infrastructure in what your purpose is as a father. And then you will actually create standards and a living situation and a living system for you to operate out of. Because that's the most important. A lot of men today are in relationships that they don't really enjoy. They don't really like. They're in relationships because they're comfortable. And some men, and like myself, I remember being in a relationship years ago when I had a young lady that presented to me my pain. And at first, I was in denial because I didn't think I was in that type of pain emotionally and psychologically. Then I said, you know what? I really am. It really does hurt. There are hugs under your skin, and I can smell them. There are bugs under my skin. What kind of bugs under my skin? Get out of here, Zen whoever. Bugs under my skin. There's love under my skin. That's what's under my skin. You got some love. But anywho, you know, threw me off right there talking about bugs under my skin. If you're gonna type something up in the chat, please let it be something worth me stopping reading it for. Let me read something that ain't got nothing to do with fatherless pain. Did you grow up with your father? You drop in the comment. Did you grow up with your father? Drop it in the comment. Tell me yes or no. And if you did, if you grew up with your father, what kind of relationship is that like? Oh, you done left now. Don't leave now because I'm asking questions. Yeah, Miss Lady, that's me. You already know. ENpossible in the building. You already know. So listen, these moments in life where we are dealing with young men who don't know how to express themselves. Young men that don't know how to express themselves grow up to be older men that don't know how to express themselves. You young ladies that don't know how to express themselves grow up to be young women or older women that don't know how to express themselves. And here's how you know people have a difficulty learning how to express themselves. Say Jamal is here. Chime in. Y'all already know what it is. So right when you I should have threw me off my train. Me and my thoughts. Once I'm rolling, I'm rolling. So we're gonna make it back to fatherless pain. And what does that mean? Like when you in pain, how you doing? I'm doing well. Ozzy, what's up, Ozzy? How you feeling today? We're talking about fatherless pain. How many people in the chat grew up with their father? Give me a 1 if you grew up with your father. Give me a 2 if you didn't grow up with your father. Give me a 1 or 2. If you grew up with your father, give me a 1. If you didn't grow up with your father, give me a 2. Okay. And the relationship that you all have with your father, is that good? Did he give you, did he instill in you very strong traits emotionally, relationship wise? How did that go? Yeah. And listen, we just talking about, very good. He's amazing. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's the power of a father being there and having the standard and infrastructure and what to pass down to his son. That's you can't go wrong passing down to the daughter. You know, it's a beautiful thing when you really understand fathers today, the why it's so important for us to come back and reestablish fatherhood once again. That's why it's so important for us to heal, to let go of those old ideas of an absentee father. That's okay if you've been hurt and you're dealing with mental health. It's all right. Healing is worth it. It's worth it to rebuild the relationship that you have with your sons and your fathers. It is very vital to us as a community for fathers to reestablish themselves as not the head of the household, the head and the balance of the unit. We are a unit. There's no the woman is not above us. If the father is head of the household, how we born? We all born through a woman. The men will never be the head of the household. We are an infrastructure in this harmony of the unit called a family. We are the infrastructure. The woman is the guideline. She's the guidance. She's the giver of life. She guides. She prepares. She nurtures. The father is that discipline. Is that warrior. Is that rawness. Is that realness. We still have to be able to give back to our young men and honor them what they're going through. Because again, if you ask most men today about, oh, I know I was talking about fatherless pain. If you ask most men today about fatherless pain, and they say, well, I've been this way my whole life, they're telling you that they have experienced an emotional moment in their life, and it's still difficult for them to deal with. That's why you see a lot of women in the same relationship with men, and most men are in the same relationship as women. They're comfortable in the pain. Once you come out of the pain and you begin to heal, you have different relationships because your emotions will actually, there's all kind of stuff on my wall. All kind of symbols and sigils and masks and hats and yeah. That's what you're supposed to be surrounded. Surround yourself with the light, brother. Surround yourself with the light. The same what some lady said, I would say that my children experience what Colin taught them better than the fathers their children that life could cause. And they paying for it now. Yeah. Yeah. It's something that not having a father in the household, what that trickle downs to. Because it's so imperative and we sometimes we take it for granted who the father is. Because we've been labeled the deadbeat dad. He don't want to be there. He's not this. He's not smart enough. He don't make enough money. He don't do this. I know some fathers that don't make a whole lot of money, but they are hellified men. They'll break their neck for their son or daughter. They'll give their son or daughter anything that they desire. And they make sure that their kids don't go without. And then you have some men that they got on everything Gucci Prada and their kids might have some Walmart shit, some TJ Maxx shit. What do they mean? I like that necklace. The symbols mean all kind of things in the background, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why they are there. They all hold a particular frequency. So again, those are psychological tools that I use in my space. I keep my energy at a particular way, and that's how I live on a daily basis. Thank you for the compliment on the necklace. I appreciate you. And so the father, when you realize as a father that you have caused pain to your daughters and not realizing how deep that goes down. When I talk to men today, I'm talking about brothers in my age and they 40s and 50s, and they can still say, man, I remember when my father said he was coming to the house and didn't show up. He might didn't come for days later. Sometimes he didn't come for weeks later. So, I hear kids all the time say, I was sitting at the window waiting on my dad. And he never came. That has to be one of the most traumatizing moments in the world. And so you're talking about young men and young women growing up traumatized because without a father. Father figures and fathers are two different things. You can have a father figure that has a good standard. He will never be the father. And then you have father archetypes that can come in and be just as great or better than the actual father themselves. Because it all comes with a standard and a structure. See, as a father, you realize that, hey, do you talk about success? Yeah, I talk about success all the time. How you're able to deal with success if you emotionally and mentally in a different place and you haven't really healed. So you as a young man who you didn't have to heal, so you don't have any type of emotional pain, you didn't go through any type of trauma at all. You do know you was raised in the United States of America. So how do I help my people spiritually? There's a ton of people talking about money. What kind of success are you talking about? Are you talking about spiritual success? You talking about spiritual liberation? Are you talking about capital and monetize? You talking about that note that you talking about that everybody idolize? Or you talking about success when you talking about creating a legacy for your family, for purchasing land, buying gold, teaching them who they are, building a trust with your family that you're passing down from legacy to legacy to legacy. Yes, I do talk about success. The one thing that we must always understand first is it starts with us as men, as fathers. Are you a father? Having good connections and having a cool thing. I want. You said, oh yeah, okay, all right. Well, one day soon you're going to be a father. I'm 16. Oh, okay. Yeah, don't be a father no time soon. Take your time. Take your time. No, no children for you. No, 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 no. And it and it's good for a young man like you understanding that, hey, what part of my life can I heal from? Nobody has a life that is so perfect that there's no room for healing. 9 to 30, 35. Yeah, that's a good age. 30, 35, those are real good age. I started early. I was in high school when I had my first daughter. And I didn't nowhere near understand the responsibility or the impact it was as being a father. As I stated before, I caused them pain. And I talk about this pain just because we've been able to have round tables and they have been able to tell me how it affected them emotionally, psychologically, which gave me a whole nother understanding of how is it so systematic that it's easy for men to not be a father, to not be in a home with a child. What makes that so easy? And that's what I'm discussing about the healing, because again, if you a young man and then you get to be 40 years old, yet you never did any healing and you don't understand your inner child, that's what the need to be healing. So yes, we have to go and understand every facet of life, especially when it comes to family. And yes, the mother gives life, but the father participated. And without the father, there's no life. We need two. We need the mother and the father, which means that archetype of a father is run strong, just like that mother archetype runs strong. It's a psychological programming within us. I had, could you believe at one time I had characteristics of someone that I never met? They said I walk like him, I look like him. I said, how in the world Could I act like somebody that I never met? And that's when I really begin to understand genetics. It's in the DNA. It's in your DNA. You know? So yeah, fatherless pain is near and dear to me, and it's a level of healing. It's a level of healing. If you don't heal, it is definitely going to be difficult in life. Detachment is what it is. You got to be able to love yourself, and fathers, for to stop a generation of young men that either going to jail, being in gangs, or getting killed and shot for no particular reason. It's time for us to reestablish ourselves. If you've been gone for a while, time to bring your ass back in. Put on your pants, put on the archetype of a father, and be that. Understand who you are as a God. You know they say, Father God, look in the mirror, Father God. You in the image of God, which means you should be a father just like God. Be a father just like God. You step into your God ways. Utilize these spiritual techniques. Change your psyche. We have to stop passing down generations of pain and pass down generation of healing, of wealth, of understanding, and love. Fatherless pain is still a problem today. You know, there's no other community that you can go into and have 60% of fathers not in the home. You're not able to go into the Asian community and see that. You're not able to go into the Caucasian community and see that. There's no other ethnicity on the planet that has a 60% of fathers not being in the home. So if you think it's not orchestrated, that's fine. But if you can find another community, another ethnicity of people that has the same census percentage as quote unquote African Americans, drop it in the comment. Tell me about it. I wrote a poem on fatherless pain. It's about to be released. And it just talked about the pain that I went through as a man. What's your next slide? Next Thursday, 6 o'clock, you can find me. Talk that crap. We're gonna talk about business next week. What you want to know about business, young fella? You 16. What you want to know about? Fatherless pain is something that we must face, and like I said, just reestablish ourselves with who we are. And once you reestablish yourself with who you are, you cannot go wrong. Cannot go wrong. It may be a learning curve. You may have to fight to spend time with your kids. You may have to fight and take on all the anger that they have. They have a lot of anger in life, and I tell you, with that anger in life, understand what they're going through. Our young women and men have to deal with the anxiety and the confusion of a parent that actually participated in giving them life, not want to be in their lives. Now, if you don't think that's trauma, that's something else. Okay? So we have to get back to the point of understanding that it is something serious about being a father. It is something serious of teaching healthy psychological structures of living. Like, what is your infrastructure? How are you living? And you doing that when you pass that generation down, when you pass that information down, when you pass that knowledge down, what are you passing down? Are you passing down things that will be beneficial to that young man, that young woman? Because that's the most important, and that's where we at right now. We must heal from fatherless pain. And everything that we do, it must be a level of healing. And on that, I want to say fatherless pain, it's time to heal. Peace, love, and light.